Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Phil Melton. I'm the Vice President of Product Marketing at MercuryGate International, and I have the great pleasure today to have Matt Silver, who is Record Tools Vice President of Strategic Alliances, joining me on the MercuryGate Minutes. So, Matt, why don't you take a couple of seconds to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Record Tools?
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on first and foremost. So my background is actually in the brokerage space. I spent a decade there before being fortunate enough to come over to the software side and finally be part of something that's building tools for everybody rather than just building tools for a single brokerage. So at Trucker Tools, everybody knows our past and just having visibility to where is the truck and being able to provide that through partnerships with TMSs or proprietary software suites. But we also have gotten into digital freight matching through our capacity tools as well as Book It Now. So end to end, if you have a load that needs to be covered, we can help everybody be a little more efficient with it.
All right, that's fantastic. And today, capacity is kind of one of those things that it has to have a solution somewhere, and we have to have a lot of capacity out there. And I've seen things where people have said things around the lines of, "We can guarantee 100% capacity." So that it's interesting. I think that's in the digital freight area. But let's jump into some questions that I have for you today. So just starting off, with the rapid evolution of digital freight tech, like you just brought up, and there's so many players that seem to be in the market that are really pushing that envelope. Why are platform integrations really more important today than ever for 3PLs and freight brokers?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it quickly brings forward a best in class product to the masses, right? Brokers and 3PLs don't have to build their own proprietary tech. They then don't have to worry about getting driver adoption, which is always going to be the hardest piece of the puzzle. It's not field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. If you build it, you need to figure out how to get everybody into it, and that's an even harder thing to do than just building it. And just as some contrast for that, today our platform has 1.4 million drivers using the driver app. So those drivers are, every month, every week, every day, they're looking for new freight. They're looking 24 hours a day. So even when the brokerage is closed, they're looking for those Book It Now loads. And then they're looking to provide their visibility right back to whoever owns that load. So through the TMS, they can make it available. We also do partner with all of the ELD providers. So we have drivers who are using our app just for capacity and then providing the visibility through that ELD.
That's pretty cool. I know that today the GPS ELDs, all those types of things are really paramount for drivers. I have a brother who actually runs trucks himself, and he uses those types of things today. And if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't stay loaded all the time. So great call out on that. So what are the benefits really of a TMS provider really partnering strategically with a digital freight tech developer or company?
Yeah, and great question because we do work with virtually all the TMSs out there, and it seems throughout the course of the last decade in particular, a lot of people have come forward with their own solution to a lot of things, and we've seen different solutions come and go. So primarily, the benefit to partnering strategically is we're experts in our space, you're experts in your space. We handle visibility, capacity, driver engagement. The TMS platforms are really experts in load management. They've got the financial acuity to keep the broker's business running. We have very simple API connections. Any TMS provider can just plug into us and immediately have access to the millions of dollars we've spent in R&D, the knowledge we have from moving so many loads on a daily basis, and all of the feedback we're getting not only through the brokers but also from the drivers.
That's great. One of the things, this next question is going to speak to my heart. I've been in the industry, like I said earlier, when we were having conversation, around 40 years, mostly on the technology side. So one of the things that's always been one of those items I struggle with is how do you decide when to partner with somebody and really when to build something out yourself?
That's I've gone through this myself again in the broker space where we had we prided ourselves on having home built technology and we had everything siloed. So the build versus buy quandary is always going to be around. At Trucker Tools, we've had some of the largest brokerages abandon proprietary driver apps or use us in tandem with their own technology. Many are finding that drivers are fatigued by the number of apps that they're being asked to download. We hear about app fatigue all the time. I'm always a proponent of scrolling through all of the apps on my phone while I'm waiting for the plane to take off and just mass delete, mass delete, mass delete. It's a real thing that happens. And if you can imagine, just stepping back from the broker side of things, being the driver, every load you take, you're being asked to engage in a different platform, a different app, and a different way to go about doing business on that load. It's not just pick up and deliver it. It's we need the rate con this way. You need to check in and check out this way. You need to be tracked this way. There's so many requirements. Just making it easy for the driver. That really can help steer you in where the build versus buy has a benefit. I always say meet the driver where the driver is. If you can reach drivers through an existing service, you absolutely should reach them through that service.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One of the things, like I said earlier, with regards to systems and technology and the way that things are going in the marketplace today, you're crazy if you don't bring the users of those technologies in and ask them what they need and what they're looking at, what their pain points are, and driving those types of things into your product. Because you want to make it simple. You want to keep it as simple as possible, which is really benefits everybody in the long run, right? Keep the systems simple, keep the users interface, the things that they use simple. It just makes it way better overall. So the next question is really, how does such partnerships, when you do form a partnership, help fill gaps in a portfolio or respond really to your urgent customer requests for new functionality? Because I've always struggled with, having a partner, then hey, guess what? I've got to have somebody using that technology. How can I get them into the queue to get them hooked up and those types of things? So how do you really fill those gaps?
Yeah. So, as brokers bring on those new clients or a client that's existing gives them a new lane, the broker's at a disadvantage, right? You're usually picking up the pieces where somebody else had likely failed, whether they failed to provide capacity, they failed to provide, competitive rates, or just consistency. You're always trying to step back and put against the wall of here's what we need and we need it right now. So first you need to find that capacity. Then you need to go negotiate the fair rate, and you can get the load in motion. Once it's in motion, you need visibility on it. We check all of those boxes right out of the gate. That's our core business, right? If you're a broker and you need a new lane covered, you can post and pray. You can build a team. I've certainly been party to it where I've had 100 people in a room and all they focus on are first loads for clients. So we build it and we just hammer the phones. We call everybody. Hey, do you have a truck? Do you think you might have a truck? Would you be interested in this? It's that just a burn of labor going into that, and it's kind of an antiquated approach that might have worked in my past. Certainly today, I feel very differently. Let technology do what technology does best, right? Platforms like ours, we can match available loads to available pieces of equipment. And if there are no pieces of equipment, we've all been there. We can at least tell the broker what carrier or what driver often runs that lane. That's a good starting point. Probability and matching is a strong position rather than just looking through that needle in a haystack alone. We can steer you into the right direction if we can't steer you into an actual available truck. And then you can have fruitful conversations, use the people to build relationships with the drivers. Ultimately, get that relationship built, get that load covered, appease the customer, and everybody's going to come back. If the customer enjoys what you're doing and you're able to solve their problem, which is freight needs to move and often needs to move yesterday, you're good to go there. And if you provide a good experience to the driver where you find them on the same platform that they're going to handle the rest of the load on, from visibility to submitting their POD even at the end of the transit, you're not asking them to do anything they haven't already done.
Yeah, before I get to my next question, I have to say I like that post and pray thing. That was pretty good. The first time I've heard that, that was spot on. That's kind of the way I think it used to be, right? A lot of that type of thing. So going into my next question, and you gave me a great lead into it. So what's the advantage or the benefit for someone like MercuryGate or a TMS provider and their customers to do these things, to partner?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've alluded to some of it, but efficiency in resources, right? We're saving time and cultivating the capacity, helping connect the right carrier to the right load. And it's not just, hey, you've got an open load, and again, that post and pray that I'll probably touch on several times because I used to champion it and then I used to scold people for doing it. It's just not efficient. Even when you do have, the right lane with the right dollar amount, the right market where you're going to get a lot of carriers to respond, you're actually then going to waste more time because you're going to get 50 phone calls at once, and all of your brokers who aren't working on that load are now involved on that load. Everybody's yelling across the room, "Hey, is that covered? Did that guy take it?" Everybody's going to ask for more money. It just becomes somewhat of a bit of chaos. So with the right tools in place, you can scale appropriately. This is kind of one of the biggest things, is using the right technology to help match the loads. I would never say there's a guarantee of capacity, because that's a fallacy, but help point you in the right direction, provide high probability matching. And again, if you find the carrier on our platform, they're visible all the way through delivery. So you'll know when they pick up, when they deliver. They can send documents. You can message right through the app, so that driver's always going to be in communication. It helps the brokerages scale faster. Not just saying hire more people, more bodies equals more output. It's every broker can produce more loads. And operating a brokerage, again, in my past, we looked at load count per head. And I have some numbers in mind of what I thought was possible at that time. And now I've got numbers that we have of clients of ours that produce, and it's nearly double what I used to think was possible. If you can produce more per body, not only are you just being more efficient, but those bodies are also, they're earning more money through their commissions. They're going to be lifelong employees. They're going to be very happy there.
Right. Yeah, I've always thought about, having the right capacity at the right time, right? How do you manage that? How do you plan for it? Having I think, a digital freight broker as part of your TMS, or being part of that, being able to just drop out and say, "Hey, I'm doing this to you," finding that capacity when you need it, it's paramount in today's environment. So let's flip it around. What's the advantage of the benefit for a digital tech provider or developer to actually partner with it?
Yeah, and I'll jokingly say less competition for us, but the reality of it is we have no shortage of competition. We've seen everybody, including their mother, in certain instances, has tried to build their own visibility platform, their own capacity widget. We hear about it all the time, and ultimately, we keep coming full circle on the conversation, because brokers have a role, TMSs have a role, and then all of the integrated partners have a role, and everybody's expert in their own way. So for us, there's success and failure of every load actually helps build the technology that we have. So each time a driver selects book it now through one of the load, our technology learns that habit. Every time a driver exposes themselves and says, "Hey, I'm looking for an available load," we learn from that. The technology continues to evolve. Each time an available load and an available driver bypass each other, we learn, right? There's a lot to be said for habits. So we can watch a single load go from one brokerage to another brokerage. Certainly, again, pointing to my background on the brokerage side, one of the things I would always do, 5 o'clock on a Friday, when you get that urgent customer email saying, "Hey, cover this at any cost." The one thing I would do is watch every other brokerage in America post the same load. And every 10 or 15 minutes, we'd all throw another $100 on, $100. And ultimately, the drivers are sitting back on the same platforms, watching the same thing, right? They know there's not 50 loads suddenly out of Sarasota, Florida. They know there's one load in a very desperate customer and very desperate brokers who want to make money on from it. So with our platform, we're learning what's going on. We're watching what's going on. Again, we're hyper focused on matching the right driver or the right carrier to the right load, something that fits habits on both sides of the fence, something that has fair pay for everybody involved. And then we're going to learn from that. And I also mentioned that we learn from the misses. Anywhere where there's a miss, we like to figure out why. Did the driver take a different load? Did they go ultimately a different direction, or did they go to the same destination market just for variable in money, variable in weight, or had they not updated their equipment type? Sometimes things like that will happen. We've seen, especially in the last year, as equipment's gotten very scarce, a lot of the reefer guys turn off the reefer unit and just run dry. Certainly cost savings on their side, but when you have different fluctuations in different markets, all of those things are going to come into play. So we benefit by learning a lot, and the technology comes a lot further faster. We don't want to silo the knowledge we have or just data mine the industry for ourselves. We're hyper focused, again, building that technology that drives efficiency for the broker and driver, they can spend more time building relationships, human to human labor spend. In that regard, I think is awesome. The fully digital platforms lack the human touch. The overly human touch platforms lack the technology to scale efficiency. So you need a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic, Matt. I really appreciate it. I just a couple of call outs what you were just saying. This still is a human industry, right? We have to cater to the human side, but technology is driving that. And if you have the right technology and you're doing the right things and you're constantly improving that technology by learning through failure and through successes, even, I think we can do fantastic things for the industry. So again, Matt, I want to thank you so much for today. I want to thank you for joining us. And I look forward to future conversations with you. Appreciate your partnership.
Thanks for having us on, Phil. I really appreciate it.
All right, sir. Thank you.